A little bit of background, I'm Joe Brown, and I'm the Regional Channel Director for AireSpring Communications. I am based here in Florida. If you take the Intercoastal about 3.5 hours north, you'll find my house. I'm on a little island called New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Look it up. We are the shark bite capital of the United States. So anyway, something to be proud of there. And I got the TCG lean on me already. I think everybody's got this presentation. So, is that better? Okay. I've never been told that I have to speak up, so that's a first for, I guess it's been a while. AireSpring Communications, I think you guys have this presentation. I'm going to go through it, talk a little bit about the AireSpring Advantage, but more importantly, you have customers out there when you're sitting there and talking with them and they go, I don't know how I can afford to have these services deployed. And I want to talk a little bit more about how they can't afford not to have certain services deployed. So talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk about some case studies. AireSpring, we've got a global SD-WAN solution. We also have, obviously, domestic SD-WAN. We've got our own UCaaS platform. We do voice and data. We do long distance. It was mentioned we're one of the largest SIP termination providers in the continental U.S., doing about 4.5 billion calls a month right now. So we also provide managed security. I'll talk a little bit about that. We just recently had some changes to our managed security platform. And then, of course, we can do managed network connectivity and IT services. So I know you folks have this presentation. I'm going to breeze through it pretty quickly. Again, AireSpring, we were founded in 2001, debt-free and profitable. If you look us up, we are a family-owned and operated business. If you go to our website, airspring.com, you'll see the name Launstein. In fact, Avi Launstein is our CEO. He's also one of the owners. We actually have one of our owners here, Daniel Launstein in the back. Daniel is our Chief Revenue Officer who just recently moved from California to Florida, and I wonder why. We'll leave it at that. We actually, we're a global managed communications provider. We're also labeled as a CLAC. Some people may label us as an aggregator. Talk a little bit more about that, but we're a little over 20,000 customers worldwide. We're very good at primary and backup connectivity. Talk a little bit about that. SD-WAN, we're actually very good at it. I'll talk about the multiple flavors that we have as it relates to SD-WAN. We do have our own UCaaS application. We do SIP trunking. We can do local SIP, LD SIP. We can do high-end call centers, short duration, termination traffic into the continental U.S. So we're really good at SIP. We've been doing it for a number of years. Talked a little bit about business continuity and disaster recovery. That'll go into the fact of why it makes sense for your customers to pay the applications that they're looking to do. We'll talk about lost business and those sort of things. We have the largest IP network in the United States. I think that's what I was getting to. So we process more than 4.5 billion calls. And then, of course, we have a 7x24, 365 network operations center based out of Southern California. One of the things that John Young, who is our channel chief, JY, he goes by, really is and really wants to understand the numbers, and he's a numbers guy. And one of the things that he did was he really did a deep dive in better understanding what makes sense and how does a business lose money, whether it's hard dollars or soft dollars, when their network infrastructure goes down. Not only their data infrastructure, but their voice infrastructure. So in looking at it, Ponyman Institute reported downtime for a small, medium business can be in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $74,000 per hour. Okay, that's a lot of money. And when you start looking at the applications that the customer needs to deploy, and again, what you're going to hear from AireSpring a lot, particularly a gentleman by the name of Mike Chase, who is our Senior VP of Network Services, just build a better network for your customer, okay? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But in the research, okay, small, medium business customers, I mean, it could be in the neighborhood of 20 grand. There's other studies out there by Cisco and AppDynamics, $8,500 to $74,000. I mean, let's think about it. Let's be conservative. We'll say 8 grand and we'll cut that in half. A small, medium business customer, which, by the way, majority of us do a lot of business with, they can lose as much as about $4,000 an hour, okay? Now, how do you quantify that, and how do you get to the bottom of that? That's where we work as consultants to make that happen. Okay? But again, the studies are out there that reflect that. What are some of the things that they lose? Obviously, transactional revenue is going to be gone. When your network's down, you can't make money. Cost of employees' non-productive time. Your network is down. They can't make or receive calls. They can't get to the internet. They can't get to their servers. Okay, people are sitting around being non-productive. Business opportunities, particularly now with COVID going on, all the businesses that are being done online, you go down, you're losing business opportunities. You're losing business, period. Goodwill from customers. I don't know if you guys are like me, but if I try to get to a website and I can't get on it for 2 or 3 tries, I'm on to the next website, okay? If I make a phone call and I'm getting a service interruption, or if I'm put on hold for a number of minutes, I go on to the next opportunity or the next business that's out there. There's damage to the brand and reputation. Again, bad publicity is not good publicity, in my opinion. So you lose access to all your cloud-based applications. You're doing everything in the cloud. Somebody mentioned everything's being done in the cloud. You lose your network infrastructure. You're not going to be able to get access to your critical applications that you need to make your business run. Data functions between locations. You got a multi-location business that's talking to each other, okay? Or it's periodically pinging the multi-locations, bringing it back to one server because you're managing all your transactions out of one location. When that's down, you're down. Voice communications with the convergence of data and voice on a single platform. You lose your data infrastructure, your voice infrastructure is down, okay? A lot of things. When a business starts thinking about that, all the opportunity cost and the business cost and the real cost that they could lose, maybe it makes sense to build a better network, a more redundant, more reliable network. For example, and there's a couple of examples here about different industries, but gang, it affects every industry. Healthcare organizations, health records, being able to bill patients, investment institutions, when they rely on tools, analytical tools, they got direct access to the market. They're managing transactions and communications. Restaurants, car garages, beauty parlors, particularly restaurants now with doing all their ordering online and a lot of calls inbound. They're basically mini call centers right now, taking orders online, doing it over the internet, making people calling in and making reservations and those sort of things. So there's a lot of lost opportunity as it relates to that. Even as easy as a cleaning supply company or courier services, okay? Anybody that has a relationship or has any type of infrastructure from a data and voice perspective, when they're down, they're losing business. And then, of course, retail stores. I mean, obviously, point of sale, they've got inbound calls. They've got to be able to call each other. They've got to be able to communicate. So there's a lot of different ways it can affect businesses. And again, these are just examples, but the list can go on and on and on. One of the things that we did do is try and calculate, because everybody's like, well, what does that mean? I'm going to lose $8,000 an hour. What does that mean? Well, if you can really consult with the customer, you can really get an understanding of what kind of revenue they're generating, what their productivity looks like as it relates to their business and their employees, how long it takes for them to recover from that when you have downtime or a service outage. And then, of course, the cost of the intangibles, what I like to call opportunity cost or soft dollars, the dollars of your reputation. How many people are now turned off by your business because they can't get to your business? So again, these are just some examples, but when you start digging down into the numbers with your clients, all of a sudden they come to the realization, hey, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't go with the cheapest broadband solution. Maybe I shouldn't put my voice traffic on an asymmetrical circuit with the understanding that there may be latency or call jitter or those sort of things, okay? Stuff to think about. And as a result of that, the good news is we've got the tools to be able to provide a business continuity, disaster recovery type of application, okay? I already talked about it, but I'll talk a little bit more about some of the AireSpring applications that we can do that will bring those customers that continuity, the business continuity, and the survivability and redundancy that they're looking for. We label them into what we call 4 pillars of business continuity and disaster recovery. We can do managed connectivity. What does that mean? Basically, we can provide an integrated circuit on a public IP circuit, say a fast E50. We can put voice traffic on that, AireSpring voice traffic on that, and we can guarantee QoS on those applications. That's our managed connectivity. We can do that in a primary scenario, or we can do it in a backup scenario. The beauty of having an IP-based all-SIP application is we have the flexibility to reroute traffic. The customer has the ability to reroute their traffic as they see fit. I talked a little bit about SD-WAN. We've got what's called a Platinum SD-WAN application with our partner VMware VelaCloud. We've been selling them now for a couple years. And in fact, Mike Chase, the gentleman I mentioned, is on the VMware advisory board. So we're very well versed in VelaCloud and SD-WAN applications. We're deploying them like crazy. It's very hot for us. I don't want to get into a lot of detail, but we have what's called license pricing, which allows the customer to only pay for what they use. We also have global SD-WAN. We've deployed that internationally. Those are our gateways. We own them. In fact, we can get behind the Great Wall of China. I know because I was one of the first people that had an agent sell behind the Great Wall of China. Happened to be Wuhan. It took us about, 6 months to get it installed because of the downtime, but we did get it installed. We do have our own UCaaS application. I don't want to get into a lot of detail with that, but we do have it. It's on the Metaswitch platform. It is also geo-redundant. And we also have our SIP trunking, which is also geo-redundant. We have 2 POPs deployed for all our voice traffic, geo-redundant, and it's home to both locations. So if one location does go down, or if there's a fiber interruption or a network interruption on one side of the coast, you can get to your services on the other side of the coast. I'll also talk a little bit more about managed security. In fact, has anybody been to the AireSpring SD-WAN boot camps? Anybody attended that? Hell, I know you did, right? Okay. We have what's called SD-WAN boot camps where you can actually get certified on SD-WAN. We are now doing what's called a security boot camps. We're actually having one today. It's put on by Mike Chase. It's a 4-hour class. It talks about our security-based solutions, which is primarily Fortinet. And as a result of that, you will actually get certified. And just as important, you'll get a $100 Amazon gift card for actually attending the training itself. So we're going to have a multitude. We're going to have a few more of those boot camps. Get with your TCG folks. If you don't have my card, get my card, and I'll get you signed up for that. But it's well worth your while. I talked a little bit about our managed global private network. This is our 4 POPs. We have one in LA, one in Chicago, one in Dallas, and one in New York. The international gateways that we have are really for our SD-WAN gateways. So we can do global SD-WAN. We can do that over our global private network. We can also do SD-WAN over the top if the customer does not want to engage directly into the global private network. The other thing we can do now is we can do internet access, DIAs, Ethernet services internationally. And that is loaded into the AireSpring API, which is a real API. So we can do real-time pricing internationally for data circuits and SD-WAN applications. Managed network connectivity. I mentioned we've got a relationship with 35 different underlying carriers. Obviously, we can do fiber, Ethernet. We can also do broadband. We have 4G wireless in our portfolio. We're bringing out 5G. We can also do satellite applications and fixed wireless. So we've got the multitude of the product portfolio in terms of deliverable. And again, we can do these in a primary setting or a backup connectivity setting. We've got any type of backups failover. We've got managed failover with a public IP. We've got managed failover with MPLS. We could do managed failover to a wireless circuit. Obviously, with our SD-WAN portfolio, we provide true redundancy, less than 1 millisecond failover as it relates to applications. So I talked a little bit about AireSpring's Platinum SD-WAN solution. Our Platinum application is really with VMware VelaCloud. In fact, we have the latest releases of software in all our gateways. And in fact, more sophisticated customers that want to be able to manage their own infrastructure, we will give those customers rewrite access to the VelaCloud orchestrator so they can manage their own traffic accordingly. The 8 keys: installation, resilience, network load balancing, edge security, path selection, again, that goes back to the orchestrator. Traffic management, again, goes back to the orchestrator. Management and visibility, we give them full access to the orchestrator so they can see reporting. And then, of course, the flexible architecture, which means we can put virtually any type of circuit the customer wants through the VelaCloud VMware tunnel, whether it's wireless, broadband, satellite, what have you. We can put it through the box. So from that perspective, it gives the customer a lot of flexibility as it relates to network redundancy and network survivability. I mentioned our AirPBX. That's our hosted platform. We are on the Metaswitch platform. I don't want to get into a lot of that, but we do have it. It's geo-redundant, and our pricing is pretty aggressive. We also have a call center pricing application as well. We talked a little bit about security. I was trying to think of an example, and in fact, actually, it's interesting because my daughter lives in Las Vegas, and she actually works for a small gaming company that does some online gaming and gaming into the casinos. It's an employee base of about 50 employees. They're not a high-end gaming provider, but at the end of the day, they were hacked, okay? Their complete database, their core network infrastructure, their customer information was hacked, and they were held. They were held for ransom. And I believe the number that that organization had to pay was a little over $400,000 to get their information back. And we're not talking about a multinational corporation. We're talking about a small, medium business that got hacked. They got held for ransom, and they literally had to pay. So, and the other thing I did do is in discussion with my daughter, their firewall was less than 5 years old. Okay? So what I want you to understand is if a customer says, well, we've had a firewall, we've had it for years, Mike Chase likes to say, well, that might be a really pretty box with blinking lights because it may not have the applications that it needs today to be able to survive and not have that customer's network infrastructure and their information be compromised. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but what I will tell you is this. It's not just the targets of the world that are out there being hacked, okay? Everybody's out there. There's people trying to hack into networks, and they're trying to hold your customers ransom to get their information back. We hitched our wagon. We were originally with SonicWall. We moved away from that. We hitched our wagon to the Fortinet solution. We can do both premise and network-based. We find that Fortinet gives us a lot of flexibility as it relates to pricing and the applications itself. It's also not a la carte. We've basically loaded every software package that Fortinet has available into the package that we provide to our customers. But we put them in our lab. We beat the hell out of it. We hacked it. We did everything we possibly could do it. And what we found was Fortinet is a really great solution for us. From an SD-WAN perspective, I mentioned VelaCloud. We also do Meraki, and we also do the Fortinet SD-WAN application as well, okay? Depending on the customer's application that they're looking to do, it makes sense to use either VMware, VelaCloud, Meraki, or Fortinet, okay? We have on-staff sales engineers that are certified in everything that we sell. So when we get an opportunity with a customer, let's talk with our engineers and see what's the right solution for the customer. The difference with AireSpring. I was talking with somebody, and I forgot who it was, but it all boils down to this. We've got a relationship with 35 different underlying carriers, but that customer is doing business with AireSpring, okay? Like Avi Lonstein, our CEO, likes to say, your customer will then have one throat to choke, regardless of whether it's the network, regardless of whether it's the SD-WAN, the voice, what have you. We can provide those services to the customer, and by the way, being an aggregator, we can do it with 2 different underlying carriers, put it on the same bill put it through an SD-WAN application, put voice on top of that. And by the way, they're getting all those applications from AireSpring from a single bill. So that's where we see our strength. The other thing we see our strength at, and a lot of people don't do it, and I'm going to skip over this because we already talked about all the different services we can provide. Our escalation list goes up to and includes Avi Lonstein, our CEO, his phone number and his email address. Okay. It also has the guy in the back, his phone number and email address as well. Okay. So we have not only owners, we also have vested owners in the organization. So when something is not going right to your satisfaction or the customer's satisfaction, they can have a discussion with our CEO. I don't know of a lot of other major carriers out there that can provide the services we provide that will provide that, except for if you take a $20,000 ad out in the Wall Street Journal, I guess you might have the CEO of AT&T call you back. I don't know if anybody saw that or not, but right? So just a little bit of background about us. So one of the case studies, and I'll get out of here real quick, Regional Credit Union, geographically dispersed, particularly in some remote locations. They had a hodgepodge of network infrastructure. They went through 3 or 4 IT people. They had broadband, they had MPLS, they had integrated data circuits with voice. It was a mess. We came in, did a full analysis of it, deployed SD-WAN, gave them pricing on some new circuit infrastructure, gave them a CCAS application. The customer loved it. The problem is they were under some contracts in some of their circuits. So what we did, deployed SD-WAN on top of the customer's existing circuits, which, by the way, if you do that with AireSpring and the customer signs an LOA, even if it's not our circuit that we're billing for, we will support the repair activity for that. Okay? We did that with this customer. We did a high touch. The customer was very impressed. And as we rolled out the SD-WAN, we also deployed their network infrastructure when their circuits came up for renewal with the other carriers. Total MRC on that solution was about $4,200. But what happened was the customer was able to get control of their network through the SD-WAN gateways. We also deployed our NMS, network monitoring services. The customer could see their traffic. They could monitor it. We gave them read-write access. They could make changes to their network infrastructure. And again, the customer had a better network. They just built a better network. Another one is a larger healthcare support company, but same scenario, except in this one, they needed their traffic to really be private. So the SD-WAN came in, fully encrypted, worked out well for them. They also needed a call center application. We deployed our CCAS application. That worked out well for them. The other thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to migrate all their large call center applications that they outsourced over to SIP. We provided a SIP solution for them. So again, a total solution, multiple carriers going through the network for the last mile, through the SD-WAN platform, one throat to choke, one bill, and again, business continuity as it relates to the application. Again, AireSpring, that's who we are, that's what we do. I know I've been here for a while, but I appreciate the time. Does anybody have any questions as it relates to AireSpring?
No, but I'll make a comment.
Yes.
Nice thing about requesting pricing from these guys, they can actually quote you, give you a fiber quote on 3 different networks.
That's exactly correct. And by the way, we have what's called a real-time API. It's called our QuoteSpring platform, where we can quote multiple carriers with multiple speeds to a single location. But I appreciate it.
Get John to do that on the phone.
What's that?
I can get John to do that when I'm on the phone with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, I got one testimonial. That's positive. So, anything else, gang? If you didn't get my card, I want to make sure everybody has my contact info. I am supporting you folks, particularly here in South Florida. We are in the process of hiring a channel manager to be deployed in South Florida. We're very close with that. And once that happens, that person will be reporting directly to me. But from now, I'm your guy. Appreciate the time. Thank you.